Hello again, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Alrighty, we're gonna be talking about some scary camping stories. Nothing too crazy. No one ever really tried to sneak up on my campground or anything like that. It's more wildlife related. Anyway, so really quick, I did mention earlier in a video that I was gonna be working on trying to do animatics on this channel, and I might still try doing that, but for the time being, it's gonna be story time. I am also working on possibly trying to do a webcomic series that's going to be taking place in the same universe that all of my stories take place in, but more of like a spin-off of that universe that'll kind of lead into other aspects and sections of stories that I'm currently working on. So it's going to be one character kind of traveling around the universe, taking pictures and video for her social media following that she has. So it's meant to be kind of like a comedy type parody on social media, completely unvoiced, so not going to have any character dialogue or anything like that. I've seen some webtoons, specifically The Little Trash Maid and Zomcom, that do work like this, where there's really no talking at all. It's just experiences that the character is going through, and humor is conveyed through those experiences and actions. Anyways, on to the story. All right, so I have two really freaky incidents that occurred when I was camping. Actually, make that three. So the first one we'll start with was when I was a little kid, and I was camping with my dad and my older brother, and we were actually at an established campground. And later in the evening, when we all decided to go to bed, this was also a really big tent. My dad had a 3-bedroom tent, which was actually really nice. We each kind of had our own little room that we could sleep in, and the beds were not really beds, I mean more so cots, so we weren't sleeping directly on the ground. It was like a fold-up cot that had a sleeping bag that was draped over the top, and I was struggling to fall asleep. And as I've mentioned in other videos, I have always struggled to sleep my whole life. So I'm laying there trying to fall asleep, and the thing that made it worse is that I did have to use the bathroom too, but I was afraid to wake up out of my dad and my brother and say, hey, I gotta go pee, probably because I didn't want to disturb them. So I'm just trying to lay there and maybe try to get through the night, and just go in the morning. And I started thinking about it and thinking maybe I should get up. And right when I was about to, I see this bulbous mass push up against the side of the bottom of the tent, down where the ground is at, and kind of this slide very, very slowly along the side of the tent. And I'm just laying in my bed, just watching this almost like this bubble kind of just move across the fabric of the tent very slowly. And it even had kind of that sound, when you drag your hand across a tent, if you've ever done that before, because it's that synthetic material, so it kind of makes that type sound as it's passing by, and no idea what it was. I mean, it could have been a dog or a raccoon or something like that, but it scared the bejesus out of me. So I just laid there frozen stiff for the whole night. It's screw it, I'm not gonna ask anybody hey, I gotta go to the bathroom, will you come with me? Because I didn't want to go outside, so I just had to this work through the night. And the next morning, got up and went in, did my nature call, and yeah, that was rough, getting through that night. But being a little kid too, that was quite terrifying. Next scary one I had was when I was camping later in my adult life with a couple of friends, and I forget exactly where we were, but we were pretty high up in the mountains, and this is happening during the daytime too. So again, I don't know why it is, but a lot of the time it's been things that have occurred when you're the most vulnerable, when you need to go. So same thing, I had to do my business, so I picked up my Nintendo not Nintendo Switch, I meant Nintendo DS 3DS, and went down this embankment, and found a log to sit down on. And when I'm sitting there, I hear a loud I open up my 3DS because I'm going to be there for a bit, right? And then I hear this loud crunch, and I just turn in the direction that the sound came from. And then there's this huge, dark, kind of shadowy mass that's just moving very, very slowly just beyond the tree line down in a valley at the very bottom of this embankment. And I didn't really watch it for very long, but based on the shape, pretty sure it was a bear, because we have bears where I live, and it certainly wasn't an elk or a moose, because it wasn't tall and thin like those animals are. It was a little bit lower to the ground and just this round, globular looking, furry, thing. And I was like, oh, I better get out of here. So I very carefully closed my 3DS, sneak it into my back pocket, my pants, pull my pants up, and just run all the way up the embankment to the campsite. And when I get up there, I was like, oh my God, guys, there's a bear. There's a bear down in the valley there. And both of my friends, I'm all like, the one guy's like this, thinking I'm completely bold, BSing him and stuff like that. And my other friend, she's like, what, really? You saw a bear? And I was like, yeah, it's down there. And she was like curious to go check it out. So she kind of like runs over there to see if she could see it, but it already kind of like left the area by the time she kind of like ran over to where she could see down the embankment towards where the valley was at. And the next one was when it was me and another, same friend, not the woman, but the guy, because he usually does a lot of the camping trips. He's the one who usually wants to do the camping trips. I usually don't want to. But another place that we camped out at was, somewhere kind of like, I think somewhat near that area we camped in before, but like a little bit further south. And we found a really nice spot, in this place that when he saw it, he's like, oh, dude, we got to camp here. Because like somebody had like set up like, almost like a teepee looking structure out of broken tree branches and stuff. It didn't have any covering over it. It was just the tree branches. And it was a really nice day. Nothing really crazy happened. But later on, when it finally started getting dark out, we had two crazy things happen. And I think they actually happened on separate days. One was this really strange looking beetle that kept invading our campsite. Couldn't fly or anything like that, but it kept running towards my friend. And whenever we get close to my friend where he had his little camp stove at, the warmth of the camp stove would cause this bug to start hissing. It was like, I don't know, I've never seen a beetle hiss before. And it was just so strange. And every time he'd knock it away, he'd kind of like shoo it away, and it would start hissing when he'd do that. And eventually we just had to finally like scoop it up in a pan and kind of like move it away from the campsite and just drop it off somewhere where it was far away and hope that it didn't come back, which it never did. And then the second thing that had happened was actually the most terrifying thing, because we were trying to fall asleep and we heard howling. It was several howls of like a pack of coyotes, possibly like a pack of wolves. It's kind of hard to say. And then moments later, we heard the pitter-patter of their feet run through our campsite and then off into the distance. They didn't really stick around or anything like that, thank goodness. But, the way you feel when you hear something like that, and you feel like you're out in the wilderness, you're in a thin tent, you're completely vulnerable, you have really nothing on you to protect yourself. I mean, I had a camping knife, and so did my friend, but that's it. And you hear that, it just sends shivers down your spine. Like, you just don't know what's going to happen. And if these animals are going to try to tear into your tent and get at you because they're hungry and they're looking for food. But thankfully that didn't happen either. The only other thing I can think of that I didn't mention earlier that happened, like I think the first or second time I went camping with this same particular friend, was sometimes when you're in the wilderness and deep in the woods, your brain will start playing tricks on you. And one of the places we camped at was super quiet. There was like no wind either, rustling through the leaves of the trees. And I was starting to doze off, so it could have been my brain just messing with me. But I felt like I heard this bone-shattering scream off in the distance, like somebody had gotten attacked or something, And I said to my friend, "Did you hear that?" He's like, "What?" like, did you just hear some like someone scream? And he's like, no. And I'm like, why? I'm like, no, it's off in the distance, like way off in the distance. I could barely even hear it. And he's like, no, I don't hear anything. He's like, didn't really seem concerned about it. And I mentioned it to my dad, and he was telling me that mountain lions can sound like that. So if I did hear something, it more than likely probably was a mountain lion just screaming or whatever, like off in the distance. But it was so far away, it wasn't like near our campsite or anything like that. But yeah, crazy things, you know, have happened when I've gone camping. Not very often, but they still have happened. And yeah, that's why I just don't really like camping anymore, you know, is partly because of that, you know. And I haven't been camping in about 3 years now. My friend even hasn't even bothered to ask me, because usually I'm the one who always has to drive, and he doesn't ever offer the drive either. So I finally got to the point where it's like, you know what, if you're not going to be helping me out with this, I don't really see the point in continuing to do these camping trips. So yeah, and then he's also always wanting to go like deeper into the woods, like park the car somewhere on a dirt road and like hike like a mile into the woods and find a spot. I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. It's like, you want to do that, you find some other friends who you can do that with, but I'm not doing that. You know, I mean, I do camp at like campsites that you just find yourself. They're not designated campsites or anything like that. They call it dispersed camping. That's the kind of camping I prefer to do. So it's not like in a you know, established campground, because I feel like it's just more fun to do dispersed camping. But yeah, it's not really my thing. Really haven't been back to it, but yeah. Anyways, so that's all I have for this video. If you're new to the channel and you like what I draw here, go ahead and subscribe. Give me a comment. Let me know about your crazy camping stories, and give me a like. And I guess I'll see you later. And stay safe out there. Bye.